There is one thing that is common between all hyper successful people, and that is at one point in their life, they were completely delusional. I want to talk about how any goal that you will pick that is not normal to the average person will make you be perceived as delusional. So, before we get into this episode, let's do the intro. Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful Podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. If you guys have been liking the podcast thus far, remember to comment, subscribe, and like this video. And also comment any topics that you want me to discuss in the future. Without further ado, let's get into why you need to become delusional. Every great individual in life saw their achievement of their goal in their mind before any proof that it was possible. What does this mean? This means that most people, if you hear their stories that achieve something great, they were able to see that it was possible in their mind before anyone else around them could, and before they even had proof that it was possible, right? For example, my mentor believed that he could be successful in business, but he grew up in a time where there was no internet. There wasn't people posting on social media all their wins and successes in business. He had no one around him that had successful businesses that he could look to and have that mentorship that I have now. And he still believed that he could be successful in business. So, what does that teach you? It teaches you that being delusional is what allows you to pursue things that maybe aren't possible to the average person. Because if my uncle, or sorry, if my mentor didn't have that delusion from the beginning, if you want to call it that, because it's perceived as delusion to other people, but actually it is complete self-belief. But that's how it is perceived. It's perceived as delusion. And if he didn't have that from the beginning, he would have never started. Because if you don't have that belief from the beginning of the goal that you're setting on for yourself, you'll never try. And if you don't try, you won't succeed. So it's the idea of being delusional. You have to be delusional in life in order to achieve great things. It is delusional for me to think that this podcast will be successful and have thousands of monthly listeners a month listening to it, gaining advice from it, enjoying the process, listening to it, applying certain wisdom into their own life. It is delusional for me to think that. You want to know why it's delusional? Because many other people have tried and many of other people have failed. But if I don't have delusion right now and be saying to myself, I know this will be great someday, I would have quit a long time ago. I've been doing this podcast for a year and 4 months already. And I believe it'll still become something great. And the reason I believe that is because I know my capabilities. I believe in myself. I believe that what I'm sharing and what I get the guests on to speak about is going to help people and it's valuable, right? But maybe to some other people that are seeing me post this podcast and the people around me in my life, they might think I'm delusional to believe that this could ever become something. But that's the importance of staying delusional and believing in yourself. Because if that was the case, if I just cared about other people's opinions, I would have quit a very long time ago. Because I have heard comments about it and, some negative things. But I'm not going to let that get to me. I'm going to keep pushing forward and keep doing what I know I'm capable of doing. Let's take a quick break to speak about the sponsor for the podcast. I am now working with a company called Attilius Apparel, and if you want Christian fitness wear that looks like this, or this, click the link in the description. Now let's get back into the podcast. So, how do I practice being delusional? Well, I've practiced it a lot in my life because, especially when it comes to social media, when I first started posting content on TikTok, I believed that it would grow to something. And then I kind of had a little bit of insecurity when it came to posting on Instagram because I believed that I would get made fun of for the type of content I was posting. But I also had the delusion within my mind that I know if I started posting on Instagram consistently, it could become something. And that's exactly what happened. One day I decided to change my mind, to start posting, to stop caring what people thought of me. And I started posting that content, and boom, within 8 months, I gained 14,000 followers. Who knows what this next year will bring for me? But I was able to grow my follower count. I was able to get sponsored by an amazing brand like Attilius Apparel, and I was able to keep pushing forward and make content that people want to see. So it was all because the younger Anthony, about a year ago, believed in something that wasn't there yet, believed in something that he had no proof with, and was delusional from the beginning. So I cannot be more grateful to myself for being delusional at that period of time. So that's how you practice delusion. Is I feel like any pursuit you get into that is very difficult and many people don't succeed in, you just have to go in with the mindset of I'm going to be delusional. I believe I can make something of this, and that's what I'm going to do. When you do that, that's when the benefit comes. That's when you're able to stick to it because you have that self-belief. Even if you don't reach that ultimate goal you would have set up for, you would have still gotten further than if you didn't have this mindset. What do I mean by this, right? If you believe that you could become 220 pounds lean with your genetics, maybe with all the hard work, all the persistence, you get to 200 pounds lean. But in my opinion, if you didn't have that mindset of reaching 220, you would have never reached to 200 in the first place because you would have set your goals lower to be more realistic, right? It's shoot for the stars, or aim for the moon, shoot for the stars, shoot for the stars, land on the moon, whatever it is. I believe that's it actually. But it's that kind of mindset that pushes you forward to achieving great things, is because you set your standards so high on what you want to achieve, and then when you actually get to the result and you push forward, maybe you don't achieve that ultimate success that you once dreamed of, and maybe you land down here, but you still would have landed further than if you set up on a realistic goal that was very small because you wanted to believe it was possible, right? And this is what I mean when about creating goals that are delusional. Is I've created a lot of goals for this year that I'm currently looking at, that I'm scared. I'm honestly scared of these goals. Like sometimes this year already, in these 10 days, it's kept me up at night. Like, damn, I have so much to do. I don't know if I'm going to do this. But it's the fact that these goals are so high compared to my last year's goals that I know even if I don't achieve them, I still would have done an amazing job and gotten very, very, very close. And that will just build my momentum for the next year. So that's why it's so important to just be delusional in your pursuits and also be delusional in your goals. Because if you put in the work needed to, you might reach that ultimate goal that you set out for, or you could, reach a little lower than that, but you still would have been better off than if you set these low goals for yourself. And this gets me into something that you shouldn't spend too much time doing, but there is benefits to daydreaming, right? Because some people will daydream all day, think of what they will once have, and waste time on the work they could potentially be doing. But all of the things I'm currently doing right now all started with daydreaming, of thinking, oh, imagine if I had an Instagram account where I was posting content and people were watching. What if I had a podcast? What if I started a business that actually started making me money, which I've been experiencing now? And it's like these all came from daydreams. They all came from moments of, you know, looking into the future of things I wanted to have and to live like, right? So there is some benefits to daydreaming because that is what keeps you delusional. And in my opinion, I rather have these insane goals and, like I said, work towards them than have these goals that maybe are lower that I know I can achieve and they're safe, because I just want to live a life of, abundance, and I want to have a life of living the way I want to live. So that all comes from being delusional, because what I set out for myself is very difficult. There's a million podcasts in the world. Why does mine deserve to be listened by thousands per month? It's because I'm delusional. I believe it can. I believe it has value. So I'm going to keep pushing forward because the social proof right now doesn't show that. People aren't listening to the podcast as much as I want them to be. I don't have, the highest social guests on with millions of followers, but I believe I'm deserving of that. So I'll keep pushing forward and keep that delusion within my mind. And I guess that's what gets me in, and it kind of segues into manifestation, is because if you could see it first, then it's possible, right? I believed that I could have a podcast where I would be having guests, I'd be doing solo episodes, it would improve with quality. I started with just a MacBook with some shitty AirPods and no lighting, no microphone, no backdrop. I still don't have the best quality of stuff, but I still you know, saw this kind of setup in my mind at one point. And that's like the whole idea of manifestation. It's, to me, in my personal opinion, it's not just about thinking and seeing it in the future. It's about putting in the work to get to that point. And that's exactly what I did. And now I have a podcast that I'm proud of, and the equipment's better, the backdrop's better, everything looks more professional. And it's all because I saw it in my mind at one point, and now I'm living it. I'm pushing through. So, and that brings me to the next thing, and my final point for the podcast is change the way you speak about your goals and yourself. This is the biggest thing, man. This is the biggest thing that held me back for so long, calling myself stupid, telling myself I wasn't good enough, I was undeserving of things. And that holds you back the most. You may think, some people may say that, this is what helps me push forward, and this is what gives me motivation. But in my personal opinion, it did nothing but hold me back, because I would spend so much time hating myself because I wasn't doing the things I know I needed to do. And I gave myself no grace. And that held me back. That kept my mind weak. It kept me hating myself. I doubted my abilities in life. And that's why you need to change the way you speak about your goals. It's not, a biggest thing my mentor told me is it can't be it can no longer be if I'm going to reach these goals. It's when, speak, change your verbiage, change the way you say things, and then also change the way you say things to yourself, because you are on this journey alone to achieve these goals. And if you don't even love yourself and love what you're currently doing, how do you expect to ever see them through? So show more grace to yourself, my friend, and show yourself some more love, because that was the biggest thing that held me back in my self-improvement journey, was spending so much time hating myself and hating what I was doing and being mad at myself when I wouldn't do what I know I needed to do. Instead of hating yourself because you missed out on something or you procrastinated, tell yourself, you want to know what, that was a mistake, I'll get over it. Let me go do what I need to do. That's how you got to look at it. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast and making it this far. If you enjoyed it, remember to follow us on Spotify. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. If you guys can comment the most impactful episode of the Insightful podcast so far for you, I would love to hear it. Love to hear your opinion. And that's the end of the podcast, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.